Hi, fourth graders. All right, today is Tuesday the 2nd, and today we had our start of our geometry lesson. And so all of the vocabulary is on page 449 and 450. And I took a couple photos of what we went over this morning in case you missed class. So I will send those in um, a separate post. So make sure you look at those. And we put those either, some of the kids are making like on construction paper, making like their own little anchor chart, or just adding into your math notebook. But put it, whenever you write it down, make sure you put it somewhere. We're going to add to it and then put it somewhere where you're not going to lose it because we're going to be using it all throughout this next month. So when we get in all the geometry, when we get into talking about angles, a lot of all the different lines, all of this kind of goes together. So we'll just keep building on it and building on it and building on it. So hang on to that. So I'll send that later. Your independent work today was from Google Classroom, and it is the math assignment. So if you go here, you've got do right here, math Monday through Friday independent work. It's 4 problems a day, so make sure you worked on the next 4, and that was questions 5 through 8. And then in small group, we continued working on word problems. And group A, you guys had the Ed puzzle today. Group B and C, I worked with you guys in your group. Then in reading today, we were on Seesaw under activities. So we were continuing to talk about elements of drama. And today we read The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. And so if you go to activities, then go down here. Come on. Every time I do this at night, it doesn't like me. Now it really doesn't like me. Oh, I'm in the wrong one now. There we go. All right. So if you did your 10 minutes of eSpark, put your green check to keep track of that. And your 20 minutes of independent reading today, put your check mark there. So we've been talking this week about drama, and we started off these first couple days just talking about the elements. So whenever you see that kind of text, what kind of things are unique and special to dramas? So some of the things carry over. Oh, here I go again. Every time my seesaw doesn't work, and then I start yawning. All right, I apologize. All right, so elements of drama. So some of these things carry over. So, for example, characters, setting, theme, things like that you'll find in other stories as well. That's not specific to drama. But things like stage directions, to where you're on a stage and there's specific directions telling the actor what to do, that you find specifically in dramas. So, again, today um, we read The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. And then so we took some turns playing those characters. And then we broke off into groups and discussed these questions. Then on page 8, plot versus theme. So the kids went and plot what happened in the story. So beginning, middle, end, what is the story? What things took place in the story. And then the theme, what lesson? So, what did the author try to teach you through this text? So tomorrow we will read a new one, and tomorrow we're going to get into more of what the purpose of that. Why write that? What was the purpose of the author writing that? So that was today. Then we read The Wild Robot, the next few chapters of that. This was the independent work with the independent reading in the eSpark. And then, I'm looking at the wrong day. All right, orange. So today we did some vocabulary focus. So we talked about, the goal when we're reading is not just to read and to finish. The goal is to make sure we understand what we read. So you don't want to just read something and be like, okay, I'm done. Yay. I did what I was supposed to do. If you get to the end and, yay, you're done, like you did what you were supposed to do, but did you understand it? Like, do you remember what you read? Did you get an understanding of that message that the author's trying to teach you? Was it something that you were able to enjoy and continue talking about because, the story really connected to you? So reading is, it's enjoyable. It serves a purpose, to teach you things and to kind of open your mind to different new ideas. The goal is not just to finish. So we really practice looking at some words that we didn't know, because that helps with the comprehension. If you're just reading and you're just skipping over these words that you don't know, you're not gonna have a very good understanding of what's going on. So you want to make sure that you take time. Okay, let's look at this word and let's see what this word means before we go on. And so we looked up in the dictionary, showed the kids where you can go to look at the pronunciation, go and look when you see that a word has multiple definitions, how to decide, okay, which one is the one that goes with my story. And all of that ties back to helping us making sure that we're understanding what we're reading. So that was our focus in a group today with the 3 different books. Then in writing, we went to our Oh Brother passage. So go to activities, go to writing up here at the top, and open up your drive. All right, so we started here yesterday. We had a prompt, and it says to write an expository essay, a review of which animal you think is the most interesting. I had the kids write their introduction today, and they're I mean, we're going to have some tough love tomorrow because there's no point for us to even continue. Um, a lot of them have already not passed the because they didn't write to the prompt. So it's very simple, but if you don't do this, you don't pass it. It's like one of those pass or failed things. If you miss this, you didn't make it. So I have tried to drill and drill and drill and drill that the most important thing on this prompt page is this thing right here that says write. If they don't write about what they're supposed to write about, they don't get a passing score on their writing. Okay. So if the prompt says to write about an animal, what you think is the most interesting, and you're writing about your favorite animal or your favorite pet or the coolest animal, you're not writing to prompt. The prompt says the animal that you think is the most interesting. It even has the word interesting in bold. So if I'm reading your introduction, like as a reader, I'm expecting, if I know that's the prompt, I'm expecting to at least see that word used. And all I see is the word cool, favorite. The word favorite is not even, I don't even see it on this page. So we really, really have to understand that right there is very specific. You also need to be specific. Okay. So if it says interesting, put in there, this is the most interesting. Okay. So we're using this page 7 as kind of a mentor text. So if you look up here at the introduction right here at the top, this first paragraph, it says, what makes an animal interesting? Is it beautiful colors? Is it ruthless predatory actions? Or is it just a really cool name? Well, what if I told you there is a spider in Australia that checks all of these boxes? Let me introduce you to the Sparkle Muffin Spider, my top pick for the most interesting animal. Okay, so I use that word interesting. Now, you don't get a prize for using it, 1,000 times. Just they need to understand that the animal you're writing about, it's not a pet. It's not something that's cool. It's something that is interesting. Okay, so we're writing about why it's interesting. Okay, so that's a little bit different than saying, okay, this is why this spider is my favorite pet. That's not the same thing. So you have to be very, 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 very careful. Okay, there's so much good writing going on right now, and I don't want you to get a failing score because you simply did not write specifically to the prompt. All right, so be careful. All right, so what we did today is we took the facts that we got yesterday, and we started thinking about, okay, how can we group these things together? So if you look at mine here, I've got 3 little things here that I kind of put in a question form. And I made it very broad, not specific at all. So this could go with any kind of animal, beautiful colors, predatory actions, a cool name. Okay, so those are non-specific. They are broad topics. Color, predator, name. Those are my 3 things that I'm going to write about. So introduction goes in this purple box here, and then let's see here. Tomorrow we're going to take those things. So here in yellow, I wrote about the beautiful colors. My first body paragraph is going to be about the colors. Then I talked about it being a predator. My second body paragraph is going to be about that it being a predator. The third, talking about its cool name. My third body paragraph is all about how my spider got its name. Okay, so in the introduction, you are not giving specific details. You are just introducing this animal. That's it. Okay. Don't talk about, like, when I say colors, I just say it has beautiful, I just bring up, is it beautiful colors that make an animal interesting? Then in the body, that's where I go. I talk about it has a rainbow of colors like a peacock. In fact, it has these red and blue patterns on its muffin-shaped abdomen. So that's where I start talking about the details, not in the introduction. Okay? All right. Then introduction goes here. I want you to turn it into me when you're done because I'm checking them as you go. I don't want us to get too far into our paper and be like, yikes, we're not even writing on prompt. All of this is not right. We got to go back. So send it to me so we can kind of check on how we're doing, and I'll send it right back to you so we can work on it the next day. So again, tomorrow we're going to get into the body, those 3 things that we wrote about. So like when I wrote about the color, I'm going to explain what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to explain what I mean when it says, or when I said about the beautiful colors. So send that to me so we can check that out. All right, so I'm going to draft mine. Then, I didn't even go over the first part we did. Hold on, let me go back. Hold on. All right, the oh brother part. Come on. Is the story that we've been reading this week. So it's all about Olivia, her brother. She's talking about how her brother is annoying. Then she's remembering all the great things about him. And so we're helping her edit and revise her paper for her. So we are playing Grammar Cop. So today we looked at question 3. It says, what is the correct way to write sentences 8 and 9? So first things first, after you read the question, come back over here and read. Here's 8, highlight it. Here's 9, highlight it. It says, this means he can go to the mall whenever he wants. So they have those separated, and when you read them with the punctuation at the end. This, or any punctuation. This means he can go to the mall, period, whenever he wants, period. So here we went through, and the next thing we did was we kind of we said, okay, this needs to be fixed. That sounds way too choppy. It's not, it doesn't flow very nicely. You got a stopping point here, and then whenever he wants, that doesn't really make sense. So we X'd out D. We said, yes, they definitely need a correction. So then we had ABC, and we asked ourselves, okay, how does A differ from B and differ from C? How are all three of these different? And so we noticed that this one had no commas and these had different commas. So then we started with these ones with the commas, and we said, okay, we know that a comma means that we need to pause. So we said, when we read it, we're going to read it with that pause. This means he can go to the mall whenever he wants. We said, oh, that sounds kind of funny. Cross that out. Then the next one. This means he can go to the mall whenever he wants. Again, we don't need those pauses. That sounds kind of silly. Take it out. Look at A. This means he can go to the mall whenever he wants. Okay, that makes more sense. We don't need those pauses. And so A, putting those together without the periods and the period in between is good. And we had to put a lowercase w. So when you're combining sentences, if they're not two complete sentences, then if they're not, like, if they were two complete sentences, then you would need to do like what we did up here with the fanboy, because they're using the word and. So we needed the comma and the and then that's how they connected the two sentences. But these aren't two complete sentences. This means he can go to the mall. That's a sentence. Whenever he wants. That's not whenever he wants what? It's not a complete idea. I'm whenever he wants. It makes me think something should follow at the end, so it doesn't make sense. So that one, you can't just stick a fanboy or and a comma there to put those together. Those just need to be squished together. So take out the period, take out the capital letter. So then we went over here to page 3. And we worked on some sentences that are run-on sentences, because this is one of our, this is one of our biggest things that we need to work on this year, is knowing when to stop those sentences and knowing, okay, I can't just keep adding comma after comma after comma. I need those stopping points, or I need to use a fanboy correctly, and I need, something to kind of, my reader, when you're reading, or when someone's reading your paper, if you just keep putting comma, and just keep typing and never giving your reader a time to stop and really think about what you said, they're going to get lost and it's going to be hard to follow your story. So we've got to have those stopping points. So this one says, I enjoyed playing basketball with you today. Do you want to play again tomorrow? Well, we decided that everything to the left of this blue line was one idea, and everything to the right was another one. So he's saying, I enjoyed playing basketball with you today. Okay, that's one thing. And then he's asking, do you want to play again tomorrow? So we decided to add a fanboy. So that's one way we could connect these if we want to connect the idea. So we said, I enjoyed playing basketball with you today, comma. So do you want to play again tomorrow? So this right here, this comma and the so, that's the correct way you add the fanboy. Fanboys are right here. So is what we used. And then in the second example here, we decided just to keep them separate. So it will be too hot to play in the gym, period. Let's play at the park instead, period. Now, you could add a fanboy here as well, but putting its two sentences is fine too. Okay, so you don't have to combine everything. They can be, standalone sentences. All right, so now let me draft that. And then let's see, where's my agenda? All right. In science today, we watched the brain pop on seasons. So you can go to your Launchpad and type in seasons and watch the. We didn't do the quiz or anything. We just watched the video on that just for a review. And then we did a seesaw activity where we labeled the seasons. So let me pull up mine. All right. So here you have your sun in the middle, and you have four Earths, and this is showing the different positions. So right here, when the northern hemisphere, so N for northern, northern is, here's your imaginary line, the equator, and above is the northern, below is the southern. So when you have the northern hemisphere and it's tilted towards the sun, when you're in this position here, where you're either in this position right here or this position right here, these are always, always, always the summer and winter positions. So I usually start with those because it's easier for me to kind of figure out the rest if I know, one of those. So I know there's summer or winter. And so I think about, okay, if it's pointing towards the sunlight, it is getting more of that direct heat. So that's going to be summer. And then the southern, if it's tilted away, then that's when they're having their winter because now they're no longer getting as much direct sunlight. They're getting that indirect. And then after summer, we come around. Now we've got fall and spring. And then now over here, the opposite, now the northern hemisphere is tilted away and the southern hemisphere is tilted towards. So now we're having winter in the northern and they're having summer. And then notice here on the bottom in the A position, up here at top in C, we had fall and spring. Now down here at A, we're at spring and fall. So everything flips. So I usually start with this position right here and kind of just work my way around. And then after we did this, so you can go ahead and turn this in after we just labeled that. And we're using those labels for our Scratch project. So if you go to Scratch and you log in, we're using that same model and we are doing some coding with it. So we are finally okay. I say we are taking forever. All right, so here's the model again. So we've got our Earth. These little black lines are at the North and South Pole. We've got our equator. We've got our arrow showing the direction that we're moving. And so the coding that we did today, whenever you click on one of the Earths, I showed everybody how to get the text for making your Earth speak. So you go to the blue down here in the corner where you have your extensions and you click the text to speech, and this makes your project talk. So it adds these blocks, and the text to speech blocks, you just click the block and you drag it over. And so the event block right here, these are kind of like what you do to get started. So here, ignore that top part. We'll talk about that another day. We're right here in these bottom. Just get rid of that. We're right here is what we practice. So this makes it light up and it makes it talk. So each one of these images are called sprites. So when the sprite is clicked, so you click on the sprite,
Northern Hemisphere is experiencing winter.
And you notice watch how it lights up when I click it.
The Northern Hemisphere is experiencing winter because the North Pole is tilted away from the sun.
All right, so it gets bright. And so this is a little drop down menu. So you can change it. You can make it do different things. So I chose brightness just because I wanted it to be lit up so you know which position I'm talking about. And then I changed the brightness by 25. So that's just the amount of brightness that it is. And then the blocks to make it speak, I just dragged, you click on the text to speech and you choose those and you just drag them over. And then the one where it says hello, you just put in there what you want it to say. So mine says for this position, you can see that the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. So I said the northern hemisphere is experiencing winter because the North Pole is tilted away from the sun. And then this just, you can do different voices, language. I just have it set to that there. But you can do drop down and you can change that. And then I have it pause for just a second, and you can change how many seconds you pause. And then it says the southern hemisphere is receiving the direct light and is therefore experiencing summer. So here, this southern hemisphere is getting direct light. It's facing towards the sun, so they're having their summer. And then it does the same thing with the language. And then the brightness, I want the brightness to go away when it's done talking. So I did the opposite. If this one is a positive 25, I did a negative 25 to make it turn off. So here's what it sounds like with that first earth. So you click your green go, you click on the earth.
The Northern Hemisphere is experiencing winter because the North Pole is tilted away from the sun. The Southern Hemisphere is receiving the direct light and is therefore experiencing summer.
And then the light goes out because it's done. Okay, so that's one position. So you need to label each of these. So when I click on Earth number 2, I have the same thing. The brightness, I have the Northern Hemisphere is experiencing spring. The Southern Hemisphere is experiencing fall. And I made a goof because our seasons are not capitalized. Come on, Miss Meta. Just kidding. But, I don't think this is. The grammar police are going to come get me. I don't know if either, but they may be. I'm not sure. All right. So northern hemisphere is experiencing spring. Southern is experiencing fall.
The northern hemisphere is experiencing.
When I click on Earth 3, which is this one I just clicked, same thing. The brightness on this one, I have now that the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. Now the northern hemisphere is experiencing summer, and then southern is tilted away. So now it's getting that indirect light and is therefore experiencing winter. So these look very similar. It's just the wording is different. And then 4, this one right here, same thing. When you click the sprite, brightness comes on. Northern is now experiencing fall. Wait a second. Southern is experiencing spring. And then you change the brightness to be opposite of what you started with to make that light turn off. Okay. All of that is set up now to where if someone clicks it, that's going to happen there. So by now you should have your sprites, how it looks all set up. And then you should you should be either wrapping up the speaking part, or some of us we're getting into that part now. We're ready for that next part. So tomorrow we can look at the sun, because I've got the coding for the sun, and then that is that. All right, so we'll continue working on that. And then let's see here. All right, continue coding. We did that. All right, social studies. We watched a couple of these videos, little introductions to the Civil War. And so we watched, there's this one in blue and then the second one. And then we did the article with the questions there. And then during enrichment and intervention, we did an ed puzzle, and that is on Google Classroom right here. So Tuesday, ed puzzle summary. There's still 10 of you that need to do that, so please get that done. And there's a couple ed puzzles for math this week too, so make sure you're paying attention to the schedule of when your day is to do yours. So whenever you're not working with me. And then we did a author spotlight today. So this is from last week's writing prompt that we did. And I really want you to pay attention to the way that she transitions from one idea to the next. So we're trying to get away from being, you don't want it. When we started off, it was like a formula. You do this, then you do this, then you do this. Well, now that we understand, for the most part, the majority of us have gotten down. Okay, introduction means this, body means this. I know that I need, like, this is the basic setup of a paper. I'm trying to move us now to the next step, to where we're going to start moving away from that. Okay, my first reason is, my next reason is, my third reason is. That sounds very like kind of robotic. We want the transitions to be more natural. So when you listen to this, listen to how she goes from one idea to the next. So like when she moves from the beach, and then she talks about, okay, if you're hungry, and she moves to talking about the food at the place. And then when she goes from, I think it's the sand to the water, or something like that. But just listen to how she moves from one idea to the next. It's done beautifully. I love it. So really, we want to be, I'm going to try to start highlighting some more things that we're doing really, really well, because I want us to, I want that reflected in everyone's writing. So, let's find some things that we really like, that are, as a class we're doing really well, and let's share those, so that we can all be doing the same thing. So really nice job there. And then let me see what else is on here. So we got our math, our ed puzzles, our social studies. We did this today. This we will do later on, and then Friday. Okay, so that's everything in there. And then don't forget, you've got your eSpark here, reading and math, good practice, and your choice boards. And then in Seesaw, so today we turned in the Earth model, and your book, make sure you've been recording. And we did this Monday, make sure that problem. There were 3 problems that we went over Monday, so make sure that gets turned in. Here's the season 1 that we turned in. And then division tests, make sure you make your corrections if you have any, and I think that's it. All right, so tomorrow is Wednesday and Thursday. If you look at the agenda up here, early release, and we have tutorials at 3:15. So, early release meaning you're going to have some time to get caught up on things. So, make sure that we're now like almost midway through this grading period. This is the third 9 weeks. We're in the second half. So, um, there should be no failing grades. There should be no missing assignments. There is time given for everything in class. There is extra time at the end of the day to say, okay, if you have anything you need to work on, please go work on that. So there's no homework besides just reading. There should not be missing assignments. So really use these next couple days to get caught up and make sure you're going through and making sure that everything's got corrections if needed and that we're keeping up with our assignments. Okie dokie. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.